Hi Stampers, I'm Meg from LovenStamps and it is Friday morning, so welcome to Maker Mornings with Meg. I am excited to share a project with you on this fabulous Friday using the You're a Peach stamp set and the fabulous new Soft Pastel assortment. So if you have been looking at these in the catalog, they're only like $9. If you've been looking at these as a coloring option and you've been a little nervous about getting started with them and making them look the way you want, today's video is going to be really helpful. You're going to love it. We're going to go through some tips on how to use those soft pastels in combination with a Versamark. And we are going to put the whole thing together along with the fabulous paper from the You're a Peach suite, these guys here, and build a really pretty card that really makes the most of it. So the soft pastels are absolutely perfect for the You're a Peach stamp set. It's almost like this brilliant creative minds at Stampin' Up! Looked at the new catalog and they said, oh, well, peaches, well, we should make them look really great and textured. So let's bring back the soft pastels so that people can do that exact technique. So it really pairs well together and you're gonna be really happy to learn how to do this. So morning guys, hey Kelly and Sue and Trish, and happy Friday. So, all right, I am going to flip our camera down and we can get started. So, all right. Let's go a little there, get ourselves centered here. And I am going to grab actually our soft pastels first, and then I'm going to show you kind of how that technique works, and then we're going to go back and we're going to build our card with them. And I have some tips on the card building part that are kind of helpful in how to make the colors all come together. So all right, so first I have a piece of just basic white cardstock. I have my Versamark pad and I have my peach and my stem. So we'll kind of do these maybe one at a time. And sponge daubers and then the pastel assortment. They come out of the box just like this. And I did share a project with these already, a couple maybe. And so I'll have to put those links in the video description. Right now, the video description has the supply links for getting the supplies for this project. So I'm gonna open up my Versamark pad, try not to gasp in horror. It is a really well-loved Versamark pad. When this pad comes, it is just a clear cream color. It's beautiful. But rest assured that if it starts to look a little more well used, it still works fine. Just keep your re-inker handy so you can always re-ink this pad when you want to. It's probably one of the pads that I re-ink the most. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp our peaches here, and we're going to do 3 of them, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp all 3 at the same time because then I can show you, oops, sort of the process that we are going through here. All right, now, I know you can't see those. Versamark is a clear, slightly sticky ink, and so it just has given us just a little bit of that image on the cardstock, and you can see it if you kind of, tilt your head and stuff. But I'm gonna grab my pastel, which is the second one. So this is the orangey one. We have yellow, orangey, and then the red and the others. And in a previous video, I showed you how to use your paper snips to scrape off the coating from one side, usually just at the bottom, then you don't have it off here. Scrape off the coating into, garbage or whatever, so that you can get the pastel underneath. And I'm just gonna pick up a little pastel with my sponge dauber and then do a really gentle kind of run over that Versamark. If your sponge dauber glides over the top, it's a little bit like chalking a pool cue. If your sponge dauber runs over the top without grabbing, you're good. You've got enough of pastel on there. If your dauber starts to grab on the ink, then just pick up a little more pastel because we don't want to smear the ink. We just want to add like a chalky surface to it. Okay, the pastels are a little different than straight chalks. Just blew off some little dust there. They're a little different from straight chalks. They have a little more oil to them. So that is kind of evident when you start to work with them. All right, so we have our color base down, but this is really pale. You could certainly use this for your project, but I really want a nice robust color. So I'm gonna go back now that I know easily where the edges of my peaches are, and I'm gonna close up my Versamark, by the way, so I don't get any chalk in it. I don't want to get pastel dust in it because that's not great for it. And I am going to sort of pick some spots where I want my color to be densest, okay? And I'm gonna go along here, and when you first start to use this, you might need to use your scissors to scrape off a little bit of that coating, because that coating can kind of create like harsh lines. It's more obvious in the red when we get to there, but you can kind of see that I'm just sort of using a corner and I'm doing like a circular motion to add a good amount of that pastel. Now I'm going to go ahead with my red, and I'm going to do the same thing, circular motion, just over those spots. And I'm not pressing quite as hard for this one. So you can kind of see how I'm adding that extra color, okay? You want to try and keep it inside the edges of your image. All right, so now we have our stamped image with just the dusting of pastel. We have our second image where we added the pastel like in more bulk. And now we are going to go ahead and add more burnishing to this. So I'm basically using my sponge dauber in a circular motion, and I am moving that color around and increasing the depth of it, okay? So you end up with this nice soft texture from the image and from the added pastel. And what you'll see is that you're gonna end up, like, see how I've ended up with a little bit of harsh color on here, where there's a little bit of line. I don't really want lines. I'd like sort of the like shading of the peach to come through. So I'm gonna go back and I'm going to add more color. So this is a lot like other techniques where you are basically gonna lay your color on until you get to sort of your desired effect. And again, with the pastel, if I move it in a circular motion as I'm applying it, I get a little bit more pastel and a little bit less of that kind of harsh edge there. Okay, so then I can just burnish. All right, now I like that a lot better. Okay, can you kind of see our progression here? We have just the coating, then added more pastel, and then burnished in with colored layered color. Now, if I'm not too worried about the edges of this because I'm gonna die cut our peach with the fabulous You're a Peach die like this. And so it's not gonna end up looking messy around the edge. It's gonna work out. Okay, so I'll go back and add some burnishing to these, and you can kind of see how that process works. And you might, we're gonna use 3 peaches in our card, so I might choose to do just a little variation on where I put the extra color and where I put the shading and so forth, so that they're not, you know, if you look at a bushel of peaches, there's a lot of variation there. Okay, and then this last one, I'm gonna add some more, and again with a circular motion, and I'm gonna add some of this red right over it, circular motion. Okay, the circular motion is a little bit more organic too than just coloring lines, and so you aren't as concerned about those lines not blending in quite as much because those circles are a much more natural kind of look. So, all right, so there I have 3 peaches. All colored with our same kind of color family, but different. Have you guys tried the pastels yet? I wasn't sure how many people have really tried them. I know some people have ordered them. I wasn't sure how many people have tried them. All right, and then I'm gonna go back and we're going to make a set of leaves to go with these peaches. And I'm gonna vary the direction there. So I've stamped in Versamark and I'm gonna do the same trick. So step 1, add some color there. You can tap or you can swirl. Just if you swirl, make sure you're paying attention. If your dauber grabs on the ink, you need to add more pastel so you're not smearing the ink. This Poppin Pastels technique is what this is called. And Poppin Pastels is great for maintaining the image as long as you don't sort of abuse it, okay? If that makes sense. All right, so this is a little easier than the colors here for the peach, I think, because we don't have to worry quite so much about blending. And if you're not sure about, you know, colors and where they're gonna go and all those things, another great strategy is to look at the designer series paper. So you can see that there's a lot of like light and dark, and honestly, you know, there's a lot of variation to these leaves. It's not, you know, like always colored on top or colored on bottom or anything like that. You really have a lot of flexibility. So I'm gonna go back with the darker green too and add just a little bit. And again, if you're just starting out with your pastels, make sure you scrape away some of that outer coating, because it will leave some lines on your project that you might not love. All right, and see how you can kind of see the one that the one that I've daubered on already versus the ones that I haven't. It really just blends those colors around and gives us a really nice effect. And if you want to increase the depth of color, all you have to do is go back and add more pastel, okay? And then dauber it around. Dauber it, I guess that's a verb now. All right, so there we have our peaches ready to go for our card. So this peach stamp set, this Sweet as a Peach, has a lot of great images. It has some little peaches, it has some big peaches, it has some flowers and some leaves. We're gonna get to these on the inside of our card. And then it has outstanding greetings to go along with this. So you could use these greetings with any images, florals or whatever, but they are an excellent accent here for these peaches, including the super sweet Have a Peachy Day and Sweet as a Peach greeting. So we'll come back to those. All right, these pieces get die cut. There is a terrific set of coordinating dies, and through the magic of television, I have these all here ready to go. Okay, so our peaches ready for our card. All right, so now I promised you a DSP card base. Trish says she hasn't tried the pastels, but they look really fun. They really are. And some people had asked, if you have been with Stampin' Up! For a long time, some people asked about the old, they were called chalks. I think, no, they're called Stampin' Pastels, but we also called them chalks. And I have some old like chalks videos from like 10 years ago. And those are really similar material to these. So yes, you can use those the same way I'm teaching you to use these. So, okay, so I'm gonna scoot these out of the way for a minute, and I'm gonna bring in some of that designer series paper. So there's some sort of main imagey pieces for the fronts, and then some stripes and sort of little accessory imagey pieces that are kinds of on the backs, but I'm gonna actually take this one here and use this as our front, and I'm gonna pair it with a little bit of this blue floral, and you can kind of see how those blues and those peaches are really gonna go nicely together as sort of a pretty contrast. So I'm gonna actually make DSP card base, which means what I've done is taken a piece of the 12 by 12 paper. This is 12 by 12 paper, and I've cut a 4-inch section off of the end. So I have 4 by 12, and I am going to actually cut 1 inch from the end. Oh, I got my trimmer backwards from how I usually use it. Whew. Man, this is like writing with your left hand, trimming the opposite direction. I'll give it a try. All right, so I'm gonna hold with my handle and go ahead and cut off that inch, and I will just save that for something else. We're gonna need this inch instead because I like this match. And then I am going to, where's my trimmer blade? In my drawer, hopefully. If you haven't watched my studio tours videos, there it is. If you haven't watched my studio tours videos, you would know, or you wouldn't know, but I have a drawer right next to me over here where I keep my trimmers and stuff. It's super, super handy. Actually, you guys wanna see? Looking inside my drawers is kind of a messy proposition, but there, you can see in here, I keep my catalog, look, handy with my peach selection. I keep my trimmer, or my trimmer usually goes in here, and then my Simply Scored tool. So all those things are super handy for using whenever I want to grab them. So kind of a fun, handy setup. So if you're looking for setup, if you're doing some summertime organization, be sure to go back and watch those old 6 months old, they're not super old videos there. So okay, so I am going to now go ahead at 5.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and use this line right here is 5.5 inches, and I'm going to use my scoring tool to go ahead and score my cardstock in half, because this is going to fold now and this will be our card base. Okay, so we went we made a piece of designer series paper that was 4 inches tall by 11 inches wide. We have our 1-inch strip here, and I'm going to use my Seal Plus to go ahead and add this at the end. I'm using Seal Plus and I'm adding the strip at the end because when you use designer series paper as your base, it's just a little bit lighter than regular cardstock, and I like to strengthen this. So we're gonna do that a couple ways. We're also going to put a layer here on the inside, and I will show you more about that because we're going to bring our pastels back, and we're going to strengthen the front with a panel. So the other part of the supplies that I've curated for this month for my LovenStamps tutorials, that other supply in that list that's linked in the description or will be linked soon, is the Stitch Sew Sweetly dies. And I love the shapes for these, and I love oh, I'm missing a couple because I had them out for another card. I love the stitched rectangle. So I'm gonna bring in stitched rectangle, and I've already die cut this, but I wanted to show it to you. I want this to go here at the bottom of our card, okay? And I wanted there to be another strip from this same designer series paper. So this one is that blue polka dot there. Now, since I have scalloped edges, I could cut my rectangle and then cut the scalloped edges on my blue strip. But honestly, you're so much better off to go ahead and glue that blue strip on your paper and then die cut it, because then you know that your edges here will line up perfectly. Okay, so you don't have to worry about getting it straight or cutting scallops that match. Just put it together and die cut it all at once, and that is no problem. The die cut machine, Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine will go through there with no worries. All right, and then this is gonna go on our card. Now I'm gonna put dimensionals on the back of it. I'm gonna show you one of the earlier versions of this card that I designed because I didn't like the way it turned out quite as well, and I wanted to show you the difference. So, all right, we've got that on there. You have stripes you can line up. My first thought here was actually to do this with white. And when I put my peaches on here, you can kind of, I'll just throw them on there for now. You can kind of see that it didn't quite blend the way I wanted, but by adding this layer in peach instead, I was much happier with the way the whole card came together. It felt much more balanced the way those colors came in, okay? So hopefully that gives you some ideas there. All right, and I'm gonna put my peaches on here. We're gonna intersperse our little leaves like so, but we need a greeting. Now I could put, my strategy is usually to take kind of a flag and put like a flag greeting across there, especially if I was doing like thanks so much or happy birthday where they were long. But I really like this Have a Peachy Day. So I'm gonna bring in my Have a Peachy Day, and I'm gonna stamp on our peach. Now let's see which one. I think I'm gonna pick this one because it's got a little bit lighter. This one's a little darker there. And when you do this, you want to make sure that this last peach is sort of oriented the way you want, because you want your greeting to still be straight. So I'm going to sort of cock this one just a little bit to the side that way, and I'm using soft suede, and I'm just going to stamp so that that greeting will be still on that horizontal line of our card. All right, so I inked, and I'm stamping and holding just to make sure that my ink has a nice chance to grab and to go through any of that sort of chalky pastel layer that would be interfering with the ink sticking. Okay, so now this is gonna be our top peach, which means we're gonna put these guys underneath it. But I wanted to add one more thing. I added another element to my supply list for this month and for the LovenStamps monthly tutorials, and that is this pretty pale papaya ribbon, which this is pale papaya cardstock, if you were wondering. I think I forgot to say that. So we're gonna add this to our card, and I need these guys out of the way because basically what I wanna do is a zigzag here that just goes 1, 2, 3, okay? So we kind of end at opposite ends, but the easiest way to stick this down is to just do it before. So our peaches are really gonna cover most of this side of our card, so I'm gonna grab my Seal Plus and be bold, and I've just put a strip of Seal Plus right across the front there, and then I am going to press our ribbon into it and go back and forth to create that zigzag, okay? And I want this one to go out quite as far, and I want this one to end up kind of at the top there. All right, so that is really gonna make it easy for us to have that ribbon stay exactly where we want it because it is not going anywhere in that Seal Plus. And then we can come back here and add in some of these peaches. Uh-oh, I think I might not have cut that long enough. Well, okay, I guess we're gonna cover that up. It'll stick out on the other side, that's fine. So always good to have an idea where your peaches are gonna go. My other tip for this is to make sure that you pop your Stampin' Dimensionals on where they are contacting also the cardstock, not just the ribbon. So let's see, like this one I'm gonna stick out there so it's contacting the cardstock. And let's see, do I want it that way? I think I want it. I don't want it to match the other one exactly, so I'm gonna turn it a little bit more so that this one can have that angle there. So, and I've got that both on the cardstock and our ribbon, and I am going to pop that on there. All right, so we have our peaches. Now we need to go back and add the green, and because our colors are such a nice match, you can see where this green brings out the green in the paper background. So, all right. Yes, Gian, I'm glad you like the idea to stamp on the peach. And Tanya says, oh, our peaches. Yes, we are super excited. We have peaches in our yard this year too. It is going to be a good peach season, knock on wood. So I'm gonna tuck this under here. We actually haven't had peaches on our peach tree for a couple of years. So this is kind of an exciting deal for us. And just to give us some variety in depth, I'm gluing these leaves directly on the card background or on the peach layer underneath. There we go. Just so that we have some sort of depth and variation as we go. Okay, so there's our front, and you can see where, you know, the white would have been okay, but the pale papaya is a perfect complement to our peaches. But we still have to stamp the inside of our card, okay? So, done. Yep, hopefully we'll have a bunch. Sadly, our peach tree is dying. It is not gonna last too much longer, so I think this might be its last ditch effort to have baby peach trees. So we'll see. All right, and I am going to go ahead and grab a piece of basic white. This is cut to 3 3/4 inches tall so that it fits in our 4-inch card by 5 1/4 inches wide, so sort of the normal layer size. And we are gonna sort of change color schemes just a little bit here for the inside of our card, or not change color schemes, but change color or stamp themes. And so I'm gonna bring back in my Versamark. And of course you could use any of these inside here. If this was a birthday card, there's lots of choices and so forth. But I'm gonna bring my Versamark back in, and I'm gonna use this branch set here, or this branch and leaf stamp, and pop this here kind of across the corner, okay? And I'm gonna add a second color to this, but it's a good idea to keep from mixing your colors if you just go ahead and you know, stamp one color, give it a good coat of the stamp or soft pastel so that you're not totally mixing your colors, okay? And it's almost like magic. It just reveals as we go across there. It's like, oh, Tanya was saying she has grands today. This is like those water coloring books. You guys remember those? It was a coloring book and you just used water and a watercolor brush, and it had like little dots of color on the page, and all you had to do was brush water across it, and then the dots would like liquefy and color pictures. Anyway, I love those. So this is kind of a cool effect. Not the same idea, but a cool effect. All right, now there are both flowers and peaches that match this. Probably easier to see here. So this is the branch. You can stamp flowers in it, or you can stamp peaches in it, which is really cool. And in the die set, there are die cuts for the leaves, the flowers, and the peaches. Plus, there are all these sweet little flowers, which you are going to see in another project for me. Actually, they would be really pretty cherry blossoms, which cherries would be pretty with this. And with our soft pastels, we have a really gorgeous red. So stay tuned for cherry ideas. But back to our one card at a time, Meg, one card at a time. Sue says she remembers those. Okay, so then I'm going to stamp our flowers in here. And so now we have that Versamark image on there. And I'm gonna come back with my soft pastels. And I've kind of got plenty of pastel on the end of my dauber just from working on the peaches on the front. And I kind of like that color combination there. So I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna just give it a quick blow to blow off the extra, but I feel like it's a little bit unfinished. So I'm gonna bring back in our soft suede stamp pad, because there is an image here, this little tiny dot, which is a great center for these flowers. So I've got my teeny dot. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Those A blocks are easy to lose. But I am going to go ahead, I don't want this to be super dark because our pastel is so light and pretty. So I'm actually gonna stamp off twice before I stamp on our project. So I'm inking, and then I'm stamping off, so dot, dot, and then I'm going to stamp on our card, okay? Dot, dot. And so what that does is it gives us a lighter color of ink from the same stamp pad. So you can kind of see, like, as you go across, you could really get a lot of, oops, well, that's what happens when you rock it, but you can get a lot of variation in your tone, or not variation in the tone, variation in the tint and shading as you go across. The tone stays the same, which means that it's a good match for our project. So, all right, last but not least, I'm going to add Seal Plus to the back of this layer. Usually I don't bother to use Seal Plus, the super strong one, for adhering layers, but on a designer series paper card base, it is a good idea because you want to strengthen that paper just to give it a little extra support. And when you're using soft pastels, it is super important to flip this to the back side and press from the back. You don't want to brush across the front of this technique, okay? It is not, it's not like totally, it's not gonna brush off on everything. Like it's not gonna, you know, flake across the front of our card. But if you like rub on it, or you lick your fingers, and then rub it, it will smear. So just be a little bit more careful with it than you would maybe like a dried ink or something like that. So, all right, so there you have kind of the idea here. Soft pastels, using with sponge daubers, so Versamark, pastel, and then dauber to do all of the blending and so forth. So I hope you guys are as excited about this technique as I am. This is the first of 4 projects that I will share with you. Hello. First of 4 projects that I'll share with you during the month of June using the same set of supplies. So I always love the LovenStamps monthly tutorials because I give you a small-ish supply list, so limited number of supplies, and then 4 different things that you can do with them. So you know that when you get your peach stamp set and the dies, and of course this month the soft pastels, that you're gonna be able to make a variety of cool things. Now, a little note about this suite. Right now, the suite is orderable. I would be, it's on back order, but only I think until like June 14th, it's the dies that are on back order. And then the jam jars, which I'm also going to show you some cool ideas with, the jam jars are on back order maybe till the end of June. So my suggestion is if you aren't you know, just dying to have your peaches right now, your peach stamps right now, I would just go ahead and get those ordered so that you'll be at the very front of the list for getting your back order filled. I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that at some point the back order list is going to start to get longer, and they won't fulfill all the back orders with this first shipment that's coming in like a week and a half. So then they might turn off ordering for that item number, which is really Stampin' Up's way to avoid really long back orders, because I know they hate that as much as we do. So get your order in for the peaches if you want to be getting them, and the links are in the video description for that. If you want to make more of the projects the way I'm showing them, you will of course also need your own set of designer series paper. And the printed tutorials are free as my thank you for placing any size order in my store during the month of June, or for being one of my LovenStamp full direct demonstrators, or if you have an order that's at least $50 in my online store during June, then you're actually going to get 2 kits in the mail, 2 card kits. So you will be excited to see those, I'm sure. Those come like everything pre-cut and ready to go. You just need your stamps and usually I say stamps and ink, but stamps and soft pastels this month for those. So you can get more information about that on my website at LovenStamps. Okay, I saw a question I wanted to answer. Oh, Carol asked, is there a sealant spray available to cover your pastels? So when we used to do this technique, like 15, 20 years ago, we used to say you could seal it with like a layer of Aquanet if you wanted to. Honestly, I never do. I just always told people that if you lick your fingers and then you rub them on your card, then they will smear the colors. But most people don't lick their cards or rub them, so it's really not a big deal. You could also use like a clear acrylic spray if you really wanted to seal them, but I have not found that to be necessary, so I wouldn't personally worry about it too much. Let's see, any other questions? Oh, Trish says she wasn't gonna get this one. I know, sorry. They are really pretty and like so realistic, right? With the way the peach colors blend. I am super huge fan of the way these colors come together, and the way in particular the pastel assortment makes the peaches just look so pretty and realistic. So I'll share you some more projects with this, and of course the video tutorials will always be here. Watch them on Facebook, watch them on YouTube, or watch them on my blog when I get my blog posts up. So, all right, so happy Friday to you guys. Hope your weekend is absolutely fabulous and includes a little bit of creative time. Get your creative juices flowing, and I will see you guys again on Monday for another Maker Mornings with Meg. So happy stamping, have a great day.